We talked about Matthew Stafford a couple shows back and what he could do by winning another Super Bowl for his legacy. He'd have a lot of stats, top 5 or top 6, I think, in both touchdown passes and passing yards probably by the end of his career. And we mentioned Colin Cowherd said that he thinks Stafford has the most to gain legacy-wise of anyone in the league over the next few years. And I'm not totally sure it's true. I like Stafford has a chance with the second Super Bowl to vault himself up. But I do think, Ziggy, that if Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl, I don't think I'd put him in there just yet. But I guarantee you the conversation of Lamar Jackson being a top 10 quarterback ever will start. I guarantee you that will be an ESPN, Fox Sports topic is Lamar Jackson a top 10 quarterback of all time? And when you look at it, I think he still would be a little bit off. But when you look at the numbers, like he'd be one of 10 quarterbacks ever to have multiple MVPs. He'd probably have another unbelievable year, I'm assuming, if Baltimore made the Super Bowl. So now we're talking 3 first-team All-Pros. Maybe he adds another one onto that. I mean, like the Lamar legacy question, Fox Sports top 10 QBs was Brady, Montana, Peyton, Mahomes, Elway, top 5. 6 through 10, Rodgers, Bradshaw, Favre, Breeze, Marino. Then you got a bunch of guys that, you have Unitas, Otto Graham, Staubach, Sammy Baugh, Bart Starr, the older guys there. So with the Super Bowl, 2 MVPs, the best running quarterback in the history of the sport, I think it probably starts to become a conversation.
I think that's true. A lot of people talk. One question you get all the time is if Lamar Jackson retired today, would he make the Hall of Fame?
Like the question I asked you the other day?
Well, yeah. But people ask this sort of stuff all the time, right? Yeah. But there are not a lot of quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame without Super Bowls. I mean, there's not a lot of quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame in general. There's 26, and only 5 of them don't have a ring.
Damn ring culture.
Tarkenton, Warren Moon, Dan Marino, who you mentioned, Dan Fouts, and Jim Kelly. It's very hard to get in the Hall of Fame as a quarterback without a Super Bowl. And Lamar, you're right. There's nobody like him. He's got unbelievable rushing stats. He's transformed the game. But I think a Super Bowl is the difference between being a first ballot Hall of Famer and having to wait a little bit while some other guys from his era, like potentially Josh Allen, like Patrick Mahomes, guys from previous eras like Ken Anderson, who really should be in.
Well, not Mahomes, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Burrow.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying there's a backlog, right? I'm not saying he's going to get in earlier than Mahomes if he gets a championship. That's not what I'm saying. But if you slot in Mahomes as he's going in first ballot guaranteed, and they might retire in the same year, right? That's not a ridiculous thought. At a certain point, a backlog starts building up. Guys like Stafford. I mean, honestly, as Lamar Jackson is he that much better than Cam Newton legacy-wise? Now, again, you can point to the stats, and I think there's a lot of reasons
with the Super Bowl.
Yes.
With the Super Bowl or without?
Without a Super Bowl.
Oh, that's the whole thing. Yeah, this is like the Super Bowl changes things. This is our whole ring culture. The Super Bowl does change that. Yeah.
Well, but it's not just ring culture either. If you look at Lamar in the playoff losses, I mean, Josh Allen will always have the 13 seconds game where he played as perfect a game as you can ask from a quarterback, and they lost. Lamar in the losses has often been mediocre. People point to you said that there haven't been a lot of blowouts. Buffalo blew him out in 2021. No touchdowns, a couple of fumbles. Well, only one fumble when it was recovered. 0 touchdowns and interception. You look at the Buffalo game last year, Lamar's turnovers doomed them. You look at the Kansas City game, Lamar's turnovers doomed them.
Sort of. I mean, really? I don't know. Zay Flowers had a huge fumble. Andrews dropped. There were a lot of
problems. Yeah. But when you're putting up 10 points, 3 points, 12 points in playoff losses, that's going to come back to the quarterbacking. You look at who they've actually beaten in the playoffs. It's the AFC South, the Titans and the Houstons, and a bad Pittsburgh team.
Yeah, and the bad Pittsburgh.
It's tough to give them a lot of credit for that. And this is the thing that's tough if you're Lamar Jackson. At this point in the regular season, I think there's basically nothing he can do to improve his legacy. His regular season legacy is about as good as it gets. Now, he can win another MVP. He can get some more All-Pro votes, and that's good. But fundamentally, Lamar has proven that he's one of the most successful quarterbacks of all time in terms of regular season production on a yearly basis.
Yeah, I mean, unless he wins 5 MVPs, we start getting crazy on the MVPs. But what does he win? Hasn't he won like 75% of his games. I mean, these are the records of Lamar Jackson, guys. So he played 7 games started in 2018 as a rookie. He was 6-1. And since then, it's been 13-2, 11-4, 7-5, 8-4, where he missed the games. Then he's come back since then, 13-3, 12-5. Like he's 70-24. That's an amazing record over the course of 7 years.
3-5 in the playoffs.
And 3-5 in the playoffs. No, you're totally right. Like Lamar has reached the point now, and he might win another MVP or two. I mean, he's 28. This is age 28 season.
Yeah. But that will not fundamentally change how people see him.
No, unless he gets to 4 or 5. Like if he wins multiple more MVPs, I think that changes things. When you have 4 or 5 MVP trophies now,
sure.
Yeah, but you need to win. You do need to win. You need to win.
Next year, the only thing Lamar Jackson can really do to affect his legacy, barring the unbelievable, which could happen from him. I mean, maybe he's a 2,000 yards rusher for all I know. The only thing Lamar Jackson can do is win a playoff game or two against a good team. And again, I'm not saying this doesn't mean Lamar is good. Lamar might never do that and still be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But Lamar clearly wants to be remembered as one of the greats. And ultimately, this era has a lot of very good quarterbacks. There's Joe Burrow, there's Josh Allen, there's Lamar. But if you never, ever beat the best in the playoffs, and besides Joe Burrow, none of them have really done it. And Joe Burrow didn't get it done ultimately against the Rams. He had a chance for a game-winning drive, and Aaron Donald said, "Ring me."
But this is what we're talking about, right? At the very beginning of the show. Like Aaron Donald, top 10 defensive player ever. I mean, top 5 if you ask some people. Had the moment. Right? He ran pointing at his ring. Like you can see that in your head. Same thing with Mahomes and Lamar. Look, Mahomes, when he gets the ball in overtime, he scores a touchdown every single time. Like that's
except the time
against the Bengals. Except against the Bengals, yes. But that's what we're talking about here with why these big moments mean more to your legacy. You remember those moments and you remember winning. And that's what Lamar needs to do now. And it's crazy because the Stafford thing is if Stafford wins another Super Bowl, I think we could probably rule out an MVP season for Stafford. Maybe not. I mean, he could win an MVP, but I'd be surprised.
He just won't.
But let's say, another Super Bowl for Stafford, and we start talking about him as, oh yeah, like he's one of the best quarterbacks ever. And maybe. If Lamar wins a Super Bowl, he has a chance to start entering the greatest ever. Like he's not better than Brady, but
if he beats Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in these playoffs, he will start showing up in lots of folks' top 10.
Yes, that's what I mean. Like the greatest, like the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time conversation. Like that's what Lamar has that chance. And you know what? To be fair, Josh Allen does. If Josh Allen has an MVP and Super Bowl season, like that 2 MVPs and a Super Bowl when they're 28 years old. That leaves the door open for you to really, really lift yourself up those lists.
Yeah, but this is the thing. And I think what's so interesting about the fact that the Bills and the Ravens seem to often be playing each other in the playoffs is Patrick Mahomes is going to get hits. I don't think he's done winning. Joe Burrow might be able to, like, whatever. I really think only one of Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes at most is going to be able to get it done. And I mean, even last year when it felt like the Chiefs were as vulnerable as could be, neither of them were able to do it. There's only so many years because they're all about the same age. There's only so many years you get mortality from Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
And
ultimately, what a championship represents, even if it's just one, is there was some time where you stepped up and beat the best at their own game, or at least did as good as could possibly be asked of you. This is why 21 out of the 26 Hall of Fame quarterbacks have a ring, right? Like if you're Joe Namath, Broadway Joe can be an absolute merchant. He can be totally fraudulent, but 1 or 2 times he stepped up and got it done, and that's all you need for a legacy.
Yeah, it's a guarantee. Like that again, we go back to it. All these guys, like that's the moment. The Joe Namath.
No one will remember all the times Drew Brees came up short. And there were a lot of times.
Well, we don't need to get into
because he was a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, we all remember him lifting the trophy, but it's the fraudulent trophy. It's the trophy that never should have happened. I'd go so far to say it's
Eli
criminal.
Manning gets put in Hall of Fame conversations. A guy who's a career 500 quarterback, because unlike anybody else, it was magical. When he faced the best, somehow on 2 runs, he faced prime Tom Brady and looked him in the eyes and said, "I'm better than you."
Yeah,
somehow it was true.
And he's we talked about Jim Marshall, Vikings legend who recently passed away. Eli Manning was just the worst quarterback version of Jim Marshall, the Iron Man who had great, Jim Marshall was probably a better defensive end than Eli Manning was quarterback. And Eli had those. If the Vikings win a couple Super Bowls, Purple People Eaters, Jim Marshall's in the Hall of Fame. Like that's
the Purple People Eaters have like their whole wing in the Hall of Fame.
An entire wing. Yeah, you're right. They would have an entire wing, but that's what winning does. That's what it does for these guys. There was something that you just said that I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember what it was. It's probably something brilliant, but it slipped my mind. All right, so it was what's the worst thing for Mahomes and Burrow, Lamar, Allen, as they have this legacy battle. JJ McCarthy's knee is healthy. Like that's the worst thing for them. And can you imagine that? They all have to deal with each other. They get to the Super Bowl and they're gonna have to look JJ McCarthy in the eye now and just oh my gosh. Talk about big game quarterback. That is JJ McCarthy right there. It's a bad time to be an NFL legacy builder when JJ McCarthy's in the league. I'll tell you that.
It's funny, I think about this sometimes, just how much in sports comes down to timing. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, assume they get to play the way they could, like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. There were plenty of times in NFL history where they would have been good enough to make it. But if you're against the best and you don't beat them, that will always count against you. I mean, everybody knows the story of Poo-Poo, right?
No, who is Poo-Poo?
I can't believe you don't know who Poo-Poo is. Ramon Poulidor. The great French cyclist.
Here we go. Come on.
He had the great misfortune of having to face Jacques Anquetil.
You can't even say his name.
Jacques Anquetil and Eddie Merckx in their primes. I mean, it's a guy who earned the nickname the Eternal Second. Because the Tour de France, he was in second 3 times and third place 5th times. Never put on the yellow jersey. I mean, his grandson put on the yellow jersey. I'm living on my grandfather's greatest dreams.
Man,
that was his nickname,
crazy.
The Eternal Second. And it's like so many eras. If you come in second or third 8 times in a competition, like Jim Kelly, right, makes the Super Bowl 4 times. Imagine making the Super Bowl 8 times and wins 0. Yeah, at a certain point, you were very, very, very good. Like, you were unbelievably good. But it was just terrible timing and terrible luck. It's the same deal, man. You have to beat who you're up against at the current time. Is it fair? No, but it is what it is.